All right, so I want to show you some different ways to add fabric. We've already talked about the cloning tool as a way to add fabric. And the cloning tool works best with fabrics that have a random pattern or an undiscernible repeat. It doesn't work as well when you have something like this plaid where the pattern has to match up as you increase it. So if I use the cloning method again, right, I'm going to go here, click clone. Oh, I've got to open the right layer, right? Hit clone, and then move this up here, and you'll notice the problem with this is that if the plaids don't line up, then it's going to look not right. You can, if you work really hard, figure out how to do this. So if I put it right there, and I start about right there, no, I'm a little bit off, but you can see that you can in fact make it work, but it's a little bit more complicated, right? The same thing here. If I open up this polka dot layer and I go to clone, it's going to be the same thing, right? It's a little bit harder to make that all work out, right? And even on something like this piece, right? If you look really closely, the pattern is not matching up perfectly, right? You'd have to spend some time, like there I'm going to line it here, and see now I'm not even close there. So the clone tool doesn't always work on fabrics that are not random. So the way that I do it is I cut and repeat it, right? So what I will do is I will take my swatch, and the first thing that I want to do is open up my costume that I want to put the fabric in. And then I'm going to go down here to the layer, and I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to move it to where I want it on the gown, and then I'm going to kind of scale it down to the right size. So that's roughly the size I want the pattern to be on her skirt. And I can tell, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to make fabric that is roughly as wide and as long as the skirt. So it looks like I'm going to need to make this fabric 3 blocks wide and 4 or 5 high, right? So I've got my fabric like that. Then what I can do is I'm going to click out of this, and I'm going to duplicate this layer, grab the layer, and then pull it down and build the fabric that way. And if I get this right, you'll see I can build the fabric that way. Then what I will do is I will merge these down. Actually, I always like to save one of the original swatches by itself. Then I will merge these down, and I will duplicate it, and then I will continue to build the fabric that I want, right? Then I'm going to merge that down, and I'm going to duplicate it. I can move this over to the side. Now, if you look really close, you'll see that I've got some lines in it from where I put the two together. You have to just determine if that makes a difference when you look at the fabric. And if it does, you can soften those edges using the feather feature. Merge down, all right? And then I'm going to just open this to see if I'm getting close to what I want. Oh, that looks like it might be about right. Grab that. Oh, yes, because it's going to go right there. Okay? So now I've got my fabric piece that is as big as I want. I always duplicate it. Much better to duplicate it than to mess it up and go the wrong way. Then what I can do is I'm going to actually cut this fabric to fit into the skirt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the in, and I'm going to reduce the opacity. Then I'm going to go up here to the layer that has the drawing on it to be sure that I can see through that. And now on the layer that has the fabric, I'm going to go up here to select, and I'm going to cut the fabric to the same size this fast normally would. Fabric to the same size as the dress. Edit cut. Edit cut. And now I can go back here and bring that up to opacity, and I've got that fabric there, right? That's one way I can do it. The other way that I can do it is use a clipping mask. So I'm going to duplicate this again just so in case I make a boo-boo it's there. Then I'm going to use this for my reference layer. Okay. Then I'm going to insert, wrong, no, this is wrong. I'm going to use this as my reference layer. Then I'm going to insert another layer, put that up. Then I'm going to grab this color, pull it down to the skirt. All right, you see where I'm going? Then I'm going to activate this layer. I'm going to pull it up between those. I'm going to call this my clipping mask. And boom, now I've got the fabric underneath the skirt. So those are, that's another way that you can put fabric in a costume. If you can't use the clipping tool, you can just build the swatch from one single swatch scaled to the right size.